We've seen that there have been some substantial changes in science over the last few hundred years. But talking about scientific progress, what exactly is scientific progress? How can we determine the progress in science? And does science progress through accumulation or revolution? In this video, we're going to explain this from two approaches, the old philosophy of science and the new philosophy of science. Generally, in science, progress is when concepts, typologies, understanding frameworks, methods, techniques, or data are developed, all of which aid in uncovering phenomena or test explanations of them. First, let's start from the old philosophy of science. The old philosophy of science focuses on the scientific method itself, where scientific progress should be evaluated through the method. According to them, the research method can be understood without connection to the history of science. For example, the Vienna Circle. With the approach of logical positivism, the method to determine the factor of scientific progress is by validating the theory through verification. This principle of verification proposes that a statement is only meaningful if it is able to be verified by an actual experience. Any statement that cannot be verified is literally nonsense. That being said, the nature of scientific progress is cumulative. Similarly to Karl Popper, another figure from the old philosophy of science, the nature of scientific progress according to him is also cumulative. His method, however, is slightly different, which is through falsification, invalidating the theory. This falsification principle suggests that for a theory to be considered scientific, it must be able to be tested and proven false. Now, on to the new philosophy of science. The new philosophy of science determines scientific progress by the factors outside the method. And unlike the old philosophy of science, the research method here is understood in connection to the history of science. Let's take a look in more detail.
First one from the new philosophy of science is Thomas Kuhn. He is one of the most influential philosophers of science of the 20th century. He not only contributed to the development of philosophy of science by breaking several key positivist doctrines, but also inaugurated a new style of philosophy of science that brought it closer to the history of science. The nature of science progress, according to him, is revolutionary, as he introduced the concept of paradigm shift. Paradigm is defined as an investigative approach to an object or a starting point, expressing a point of view, formulating a theory, designing simple questions or reflections. Through paradigm shifts, we can find out a new point of view and have new concepts. Next, we have Paul Verhoeven. He is famous for his criticism towards Karl Popper's critical rationalism and is now known as one of the most famous philosophers of science in the 20th century. He proposed epistemological anarchism as a criticism towards the establishment of scientific method. There are two main critics, against science and against methods. Against science criticized the practice of the function and position of science in the society, while for against method, he wanted to go against science, which is considered by scientists to have a standard and universal method applicable forever and can be the foundation for all facts and research. Due to this, the nature of science progress for Feyerabend is rather anarchic. Then we have Imre Lakatos. For Lakatos, the nature of science progress is progressive. He proposed to expand the scientific research scope. His idea is research programs, which is based on a hardcore of theoretical assumptions that cannot be altered without abandoning the program altogether. This is similar to Kuhn's paradigm, where both of them guide and direct scientific questions, experiments, and interpretation of data. Lakatos also utilized reason to evaluate science historically, which is also similar to Kuhn's, so both are historical entities which change over time. In addition, for Lakatos, it is important to continue with some theories even if it was acknowledged to not be completely true, as according to him, scientific progress is possible to happen this way. This implies that a theory cannot be truly falsified until it gets displaced with a better and more progressive research.
Lastly, Larry Loudon. Loudon was a philosopher and historian of science. He is known for his work on scientific method and evaluation of scientific theories and the relationship between science and society. Loudon constructs a fresh approach to a long-time problem for philosophers of science, that is how to explain the simultaneous widespread presence of both agreement and disagreement in science. He criticized the logical embraces, as well as positivism, realism, and relativism. He defended a scientific view as a privileged and progressive institution against popular challenges. He stressed the importance of centrality and values, as well as the interdependence of values, methods, and facts as prerequisites to solve problems of consensus and dissent in science. Now the question is, does science progress through accumulation or revolution? Our group concludes that we think that science progressed through both accumulation and revolution, as the new theories and ideas from the certain philosophers were, in a way, inspired from the previous existing ones. In the old philosophy of science, for example, it was mostly cumulative, but then in the new one, some got developed in either in a revolutionary, anarchic, or progressive manner in the new philosophy of science.